Good afternoon, good evening, welcome. It's Invisible Walls number 45. Wow, 45, geez, that's almost the same as my IQ. This is Marcus Beer sitting in for Shane. Oh my god, where's he gone this week? Satterfield. Before we go around the table and introduce everybody, just to pimp Game Trailers TV later on tonight on Spike TV. There's a full special on the very cool looking game Infamous, including a new trailer, new mission, and the first boss reveal. Metal Gear Solid Touch for the iPhone. There's some info on that as well. The Eat Lead launch trailer. Obviously, we had Eat Lead on the show a couple of weeks ago. That's looking rather funny. And then the Street Fighter 4 DLC. I think they were going to go and talk about the party as well, but yeah, we'll be talking about the party in a little while. Okay, so joining me today, Patrick Sex God Morales.
You know it.
Oh.
Ryan Sex God Stevens.
Yeah.
Justin, Ubersex God, Spear.
Yeah, it's a great pantheon to be a part of.
And Brooks Huber.
What? Where's my sex godness? I knew you were going to do that.
All right, to quote
Sex
Shane,
God's
stick
here.
around. We've got a testicular show.
ring to it.
We'll be right
It's a
back.
legendary weapon.
Testicular.
Remember, it's a disease.
I know, Chad, I know. It's a disease. Meetings every day. Call you if I feel the need to use. Pray. I pray. In fact, I'm praying right now.
You're very willful.
Was very willful, Chad. Was very willful.
Okay, first up, let's talk about a little bit of DLC for a little game that you may well know. I think it's called Grand Theft Auto number 4. The DLC is called The Lost and the Damned. Now, Brooks, you've been playing this
Yes,
a
I have.
lot, I understand.
I have. I've been playing it a lot.
How moist is it making you?
It's making me very moist. It's, you know, when they first
Did the full
announced-
frontal make you moist?
The full frontal, yeah. Let's not talk
Let's
about
definitely
that.
let's talk about the full frontal because we're having a nice conversation. So, by full frontal, we don't mean hot naked ladies. I understand.
No, we mean a hot politician, a male politician.
And is he hot? You actually said hot male.
I wouldn't go that
politician.
far. He's actually got some pretty weird love handles going on, some weird polygons. Weird. So it happens during a cutscene when you walk in as the main character, who you play as the vice president of your gang, and you're there to meet him, and he's actually getting a massage, and he's naked except for a towel, and then he gets up from the massage table, doesn't care to like wrap himself with the towel, and he goes on this long spiel about God knows what, and then he ends up flashing his wang at the end.
And is his wang pixelated or anything, or do you unfortunately see flabby?
How
You see
realistic
the
are the
flabby-
physics? I mean, is the havoc physics or...
He's got the whole cock and giggle berries. I mean, it's all there, you know. And he's hairy. It's
And
it's
gravity's
pretty
not
gross.
his friend.
Gravity's not his friend, but he's probably proud of his package. I don't know.
Well, there you go. So there you go. That's it. Well, we won't talk about the show, the rest of the DLC. We just talked about it. All right. Well, what's the game like?
The game is actually really cool. I'm a really big fan of motorcycles. I like the whole culture, the gangs, and I think Rockstar implemented that really well into the downloadable content. You know, they could have done something like a new island or thrown something else new to us, but for what they gave us,
No, it's still
I'm
set in
really liking
Liberty
it.
City, yeah.
yeah, there's nothing that's changed in the city. They haven't really changed locations.
Well, I mean, it might be actually because this is a pretty big piece of DLC. I mean,
Yeah.
you obviously still require the CD in there, in there to play the DLC. So it might, it's actually a very smart move by Rockstar to not take it too far away from Liberty City, so you can actually use the textures and the the locations.
It still was a huge download, right? It was a couple of gigs, right?
No, it was just under 2 gigs, 1.78 gigs.
Still pretty big.
Yeah, it's big. It comes with a lot of. I mean, the
Well,
mission.
54 songs.
54
cool.
songs. There's a couple new vehicles. They introduced like nothing major. A tow truck, a burrito van, which we've seen in the other GTA. So nothing major there in the vehicle
boy.
department. The new guns though, the sawed-off shotgun is actually really cool, and you could fire that from the motorcycle. And that has a nice spread range, so you could take out a lot of enemies at once. I also a big fan of the grenade launcher, which is actually really cool. You got to try that out. Johnny did not
Johnny
know.
got to test that out, but we took his mic away from him this week because his voice was too deep and it disappointed people who thought he was a girl.
But what I'm a little disappointed about is the mission structure and variety. The first couple of missions that you play through, they're all just you versus like an onslaught of cops or an onslaught of gang members. And so you really have to implement the cover system, which at this point, the game's a year old and they didn't do any new things for the cover system. It's starting to feel very archaic. And I'm not a fan of that because you're trying to pop in and out of cover with the right bumper, and it's like anyone's guess as to which piece of the environment you're going to stick to. So that made me a little upset. It was tough.
So as the with regards to how DLCs come on, we've had the Fallout DLC and the Tomb Raider, and we got Street Fighter DLC coming up as well. Where's this stack up? I mean, is this value for money? How long has it taken you to play through it so far?
If I stick straightly to the missions, I think it's about a good 8-hour game, 8 to 10-hour game. But it's impossible to do just that in GTA sometimes. So you end up having a lot of fun with the biker culture, getting in and out of their hideout, and there's a couple of new mini games too. There's arm wrestling and high-low, a card game, but.
And this is like
what about the multiplayer though? Did they add some multiplayer?
I don't know, but is it like a $20 download?
$20 download, yeah.
So 8 to 12 hours for $20 a download. That's actually that's not bad at all.
No.
To be fair, considering the Fable was $10 and that was only 4 hours. Fallout was only a couple of hours and that was $10. So this is actually a very nice piece of DLC just on the amount of time.
Yeah.
And, I mean, is the writing up to scratch? Or the character acting
Yeah,
up
all
to
the
scratch?
writing, the character voiceovers, they all sound excellent and a lot of
How's
fun.
the intersection between Nico and the biker gang? How's that pulled off?
Nico's role comes into it during missions only and cutscenes.
Did they pull it off well though, or?
You know what? It's the exact same missions you did as Nico, but now you're just seeing it from a different perspective as the biker guy.
Well, that's kind of cool, like a parallel.
So there's a drug bust mission where you have to go and deliver heroin, and you arrive early, and then Nico comes with Playboy X, and the three of you are in the apartment complex, and then when goes down, the cops are there, Nico goes up, and you go down to escape. So he plays a small role. You don't see him too often, but he is in a few cutscenes, especially with the characters from GTA 4.
So we're looking at almost 12 months since GTA came out.
Yeah.
Has this been worth the wait?
I don't know if it's been totally worth the wait, but if you finish the game and you're really itching for some new missions or a different angle on things, it's actually really cool to get it back into the series and see it from a different perspective.
And of course, it's only available on 360 right now, yeah?
Yes.
Which sucks if you're a PS3 owner, but like we said last week, wait till the end of the year. I'm sure there's going to be a Game of Year edition coming out at some point.
The best fighter in America, and not to mention the best looking, is yours truly, Rufus. Yeah, that's right. I'm the best. Period.
Okay, next up, we're going to talk about Street Fighter 4, and we'll touch a little bit on the game because obviously the game is out now, and everybody knows we love the game.
Yeah.
But we're actually going to talk about something a little different. They had a launch event last week here in Los Angeles that was part of the festivities, if you will, for the launch of the movie and the game. Mm-hmm. Now, I was invited. Unfortunately, I had to bail at the last minute. But as it turns out, from what I'm hearing, it's a good job I did because the phrase cluster comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now,
And Fire Hazard.
and Fire Hazard.
Well, we did have about 75% of the people here make it in.
Yeah.
Okay, 75%.
Miraculously made
and
it in.
But the GTTV camera crew couldn't
Yeah,
make it
I was
in.
the one who didn't make it in. I was
Eventually-
hanging out. I was
eventually
hanging
they
out
got
with the GTTV camera crew
So-
for most of the night.
They got it in last minute, didn't they?
They got to shoot some B-roll.
Yeah.
So there's this event. You were supposed to be able to come play Street Fighter, interview the celebrities, have a drink. Good old-fashioned launch party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm hearing is that somebody at Capcom got a little bit nervous that this venue wouldn't be filled and decided to post the location on the Capcom community board of the event and invite people. And about 4,000 people turned up. The venue holds 1,500 people. And at 8 o'clock, they opened the doors, let the first 1,500 people in, and left like various luminaries from Microsoft, from Sony, various camera crews, various senior journalists, Ryan. I mean,
Ryan Stevens.
Yeah,
And even staff from
Remember that
Capcom
list.
themselves.
staff from Capcom, staff from the PR agency for
Yeah.
Capcom couldn't get through the
Well,
door.
here was the problem. Once you got into the building and you happened to leave for whatever reason, you couldn't get back in. That was the whole cluster in itself, too.
Well, I'm also hearing the band that was hired, they wouldn't let them in. The DJ Kubert, was supposed to be playing, and they wouldn't let him in.
He got in eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, again, eventually doesn't cut it. I mean, this is this is one of the biggest launch events of the year.
I heard there was a woman, she was like 11 months pregnant, and she's like, help me, I need to go in.
I'm cold.
And the fire marshal was like, you need a better excuse than that.
Then the
Turn her
baby
away.
shurikened its way out of the.
Hey, I'm hearing
Shamwad with the umbilical cord.
I'm hearing various TV hosts and various other people were turned away as well, which is
Yep.
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you listen at home are thinking, where journalists didn't get a free drink and get to play the game, but this
I
is
paid $4 for a drink. Blasphemy.
well, I mean, this is the situation.
Just
People
a
like
beer too.
people like Capcom put on good launch events normally. This is probably one of the biggest mess ups ever. But in their defense, this wasn't organized by the Capcom PR team, because they're the ones who normally organize the launch events to bring the journalists in. People get to play, people get to listen to some music, have some drinks. They also get to interview people behind the scenes, interview the cast of the movie, and really get some good coverage out of it that's passed on. Now, I'm hearing that this particular one wasn't organized by anybody in PR at Capcom, who are a brilliant bunch of people, but some muppet in the marketing department. So this is my patented rant again on marketing people and why they shouldn't be allowed to interface with anybody outside of their office. Seriously, I mean, the fact that they made this decision, they panicked, and they said, come one, come all, and all these people turned up. Is just stupid. I mean, what is Event 101?
This is crazy because the line outside was about 4 or 5 people thick, and it wrapped around the block. So they should have anticipated right then and there that they were looking at too many people, too many attendees.
Well, after trying to sell the joysticks, right, 3,000 up to 18,000, they could have probably done the math for the launch event.
Yeah. And the biggest problem really was that they wanted to turn it from a nice fan event into like a red carpet kind of deal, which really
which you can
turns
do.
a debacle.
But you know what, you can do that, and unfortunately it involves excluding a lot of the fans, because if you want to have a media event, it's got to be to a certain standard. And if you want to invite the fans, you say, all right, 1,500 capacity, we are going to take 300 tickets, set them to one side for the fans, because they can come in and have a good time, and it's a reward for being a fan. But at the end of the day, the objective of this event is to pull coverage out for Street Fighter the movie and Street Fighter 4, sorry. And if that doesn't happen, it's a waste of money.
Right.
All right, so that's enough talking about this bizarre event, or lack thereof. Justin, Patrick, let's talk about the game. I mean, we have talked about it before, and everybody loves it. But let's actually give people a little bit more information on the game. Talk away. You like it? What's going on? Anybody? Anything?
Let's hate on it.
Let's hate it. No, we're not hating on it.
Justin reviewed the game, so do you have any final thoughts about?
Annoyingly less than perfect.
And how far?
No, not really.
Is
it's really good.
Is it inches away from perfection?
It depends. I mean, it's like anything else, I guess. It depends on what you want out of it. If you're someone who hasn't played Street Fighter for a while, but you like Street Fighter 2 a lot, I think 4 really does a good job at kind of taking it back a little bit, offering some new stuff, some new characters, and giving it a modern presentation. It really works. I think it works as a competitive fighting game, and I think it works just playing for fun.
Yeah, but I think the best Street Fighter to date, you think?
That's totally subjective. Yeah, no one will give up their most favoritist game in history for
Well, let's talk a little bit about multiplayer. How's the netcode holding up? How did it hold up? Because
it worked pretty well. I was surprised.
it's
It's not the same netcode as Turbo Remix, but I think it works pretty much just as well.
Better than Soul Calibur's?
Soul Calibur's wasn't perfect, but it was still decent. Someone on the Shoryuken.com forums made a pretty good analogy that it was somewhere in between HD Remix's netcode and Virtua Fighter 5's netcode, which was a pretty good one too. So that's a nice place to be in.
So Patrick, what are your thoughts on it in general?
Well, coming from someone sort of kind of invested in the fighting game community, the excitement is around.
Show us the tattoo.
Here it is.
Stop. Pull your trousers back up, please.
The excitement around the game is definitely palpable. I mean, you have tons of people that normally aren't that invested in, the fighting game community or Street Fighter, like actively hyped for it, which is a really good thing. I mean, I think a lot of people are placing their hopes into Street Fighter 4 and being, the second coming of fighting games, and I think for a lot of people it will be. The netcode is fantastic. People are going to be able to play this game, all over the country, all over the world even. And I think everything they sought out to do with its design, making it accessible to the neophyte versus the veteran, they've done a good job. The focus attack is a great mechanic to kind of base everything around. I just have to say congratulations to Capcom. It's a cool game. People are going to love it, and everyone's going to be playing it.
Who's your favorite new character out of the 4 new that they introduced?
Well, Justin and I have a soft spot for Crimson Viper because she's so...
too much effort though. We've talked about her plenty.
Okay.
Well, that kind of is my question though. I mean, there's only 4 new characters, right?
No, there's some new characters that weren't
like
in
the-
the arcade, but they're existing Street
That's what
Fighter
I'm saying. Like
characters that-
new to the Street Fighter universe, there's only 4, right?
Well, if you include
And then
Seth,
a couple of
there's
the
5.
bosses.
I'd say the new 4 guys, and then Gouken, which has never made an appearance in any game.
So my question is that enough on the new character side? I mean, I know they're kind of like anchoring it, like anyone who's played Street Fighter 2 can just jump in and pick up their old favorite character, but did they play it a little too safe with new characters? That's my only kind of reservation.
I don't think so, because given the complete character roster
But
list,
there's a
it's
lot
like
of variety within the.
25 or
There's a
so.
lot of characters. There's a lot
Yeah.
of different characters. If you really love Street Fighter 3, maybe you're a little screwed.
Yeah.
Seth, the boss, has a few Street Fighter 3 moves, but they pull out Rose from Alpha, who's kind of an obscure character, but
Again.
she's pretty cool. Yeah, and that's kind of.
See the tricky thing about introducing more and more characters is that the more characters you add, the more it could potentially upset the balance.
In Street
in the
Fighter
roster.
3, people
Yeah.
actually got pissed. They're like, "You cut everyone. I don't like Ryu. Can I have my characters back?"
All right, so here's the question. You didn't want to say
Not that it
it
wasn't
was the
good.
best Street Fighter game ever, but where does it stack up in the series of Street Fighters? Is it near the top? Is it?
I'd say it's. Well, I mean, the game's not been out. You kind
Just
of have to stand the test
in your
of time
person,
first.
in your own personal opinion.
I'd
where's
say
it
right
stack
now,
up
I
compared to
think
the
it'd be
others?
up there with Street Fighter 3 and Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Well, my prediction is that before
The
Street Fighter
greats.
4, the tournament standards were Super Turbo and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. I think with the introduction of Street Fighter 4, it's going to push Super Turbo out of the scene and maybe just have Street Fighter 4 and Third Strike be like the most popular games people are playing.
We must protect what we have learned here. Set the charges and destroy this place.
Destroy this holy relic, surely you jest.
The journey requires sacrifice.
All right, next up, we're going to talk about Microsoft's perhaps big, first release of the year, Halo Wars. The Halo universe comes to real-time strategy, and Brooks, you've been playing it. Ryan, you've been playing it. I've played it, and you guys, tell me what you think first before I start ripping this thing to shreds.
Want to take this one?
Well, I mean, it's a console RTS, so that's already saying a lot. I think for a console RTS, it does a fine job. I mean, I'm liking it more than Red Alert 3, which I thought I was going to love Red Alert 3. But that said, I also feel like I'm playing StarCraft again, except I know when I'm done playing as the Space Marines, I'm not going to be able to play as the Covenant or the Flood, even though they're both in the game. And you can only even play the Covenant in skirmish mode, so I feel like that's a little bit of a letdown. But they've definitely designed it for the 360. The achievements are pretty good in making you do little extra things. And then you can find hidden skulls in black box recorders, which does add to the kind of game element that you don't really see that much in RTSs. The map feels really small, even on the big levels. It feels really small, and the mini map and stuff aren't the most useful things. And the invisible walls and the kind of the corners they cut off are just kind of weird and restricting. But for the most part, a lot of deja vu when playing it. But it works. It's streamlined. I think the kids that love Halo will be able to get into it, but there will be still that kind of big learning curve.
Well, this kind of makes me sad because at the end of the day, this is the swan song for Ensemble Studios. These guys did Age of Empires. They did these.
Well, they just started that new studio, so hopefully.
Yeah, but I mean, Ensemble in its
As Ensemble, okay.
its current version has been taken out the back and shot through the back of the head by Microsoft, which sucks because Halo Wars could have been a great PC RTS, and if you want to dumb it down for the 360, that's how it felt to me. It felt boring and dumbed down. And having played all the Age of Empires games and the expansion packs and loved everything, each one of those games, and I even had products that were launching opposite it, but at day one I was still there to go and pick up my copy of Age of Empires, and just knowing a couple of the guys at Ensemble and how good they are and how they really push the RTS genre, to see them hamstrung by putting something that this could have been a StarCraft rival. It could have been a StarCraft rival with the Covenant, the Flood, as you said, the Marines, and really sort of taking it on, giving Blizzard a run for their money. Because if anybody could have done it, Ensemble could. I'm just really disappointed that to shoehorn it into the 360, and console RTSs are just a bunch of
I mean, anytime you got to play an RTS and you don't have a mouse, no matter how intuitive they make they have some good plans. I mean, you can select all your units, you can cycle through sub units, you can select just the units on your screen, but it never works perfectly.
It's never
and
as
you
fast.
and if you've ever played any computer RTSs, the entire time you're just like, please give me a mouse, please give me a mouse.
Well, it's not only just the mouse; it's the hotkeys as well. Because you're so used to, binding your own hotkeys and redefining your mouse and make sure everything's where you're comfortable from game to game.
But with the unit limit and with most of the better units taking up 2 or 3 population spots, you do have a far less actual groups to actually work with. As in in StarCraft, by the end, you'd have a couple hundred units or something like that.
That
I know
gives such an
Warcraft 3
epic
also
feel.
cut down on the units, but it feels like it's going for a lot of things, but never really reaches any of them to the fullest extent. But I still think it's decent, and they have some nice scenario writing. But almost anything you see going on, you've done in some way or another form in StarCraft or any other RTS that's been out there.
Brooks?
Well, coming from a strict non-RTS fan, this is actually the first time I've actually got my hands dirty with Halo Wars. I love the whole Halo universe, so I thought I'd just give it a chance, see what it was like. I can't really have the same complaints you guys have about playing with the mouse or anything, but from what I got my hands dirty with, I really like, I do like the fact that it's easy to get into. For me it was, at least, and it didn't take a long time. The learning curve was easier than I thought. And I only played through the first 3 chapters, so I didn't have a lot of time with it getting too deep. I didn't even actually know the Flood was in it, so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Usually when RTSs make their appearances on the console, they kind of make a few concessions in terms of the RTS style of gameplay, less micro, a slower pace. Do you think that Halo Wars makes those cuts?
Oh, definitely. I mean, resource gathering is just build things that gather resources for you, and that gets beamed down to you instantly.
Micromanagement goes out the friggin'
The
window.
tech level, they made it
micromanagement.
They made
Dawn of War takes out some of the resource collecting kind of stuff.
Yeah, Dawn of War is definitely on the war side. No, and I see parallels to Dawn of War too. If you update your Marines to ODST level, they can you can just have them drop from the sky. I think it is pretty accessible. I still think there's going to be some headaches, but it's one of the most downloaded demos ever for Xbox Live now.
Has more Halo in it.
Yeah.
It's got Halo in it. And, I'm harsh on it because, again, PC gamer first and foremost, and I don't like the way Ensemble's been treated, and I don't like
I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it, but it's playing it pretty safe.
Yeah.
We know what they should have done. Made Pikmin, Master Chief is Olimar, and he tosses Marines at a giant cover.
Now that I would do.
All right, we need to turn Justin's mic off for a minute. I kid because I care. All right, so Halo Wars. I mean, Brooks, you, yay or nay? Up or thumbs up, thumbs down?
I'm gonna say yay. I want to get more time with it, but for right now, there's nothing that totally blowing me away. But I know there's a lot of potential there, and I want to see what it has to offer later on.
My past is Poison the Well, but I think it's pretty decent.
So you've got 1 thumb up, 1 thumb down. You sort of middling.
I have to do more of the skirmish. I got to see how the Covenant play, because the multiplayer is definitely going to give it huge legs.
All right. Well, given my history with Ensemble and how much pleasure they've given me with the Age of Empires games and the way they've been treated, I unfortunately have to give this 2 big fat thumbs way down. I really just did not like this game. So there you go, Microsoft. Get your act together. Alrighty, next up, a franchise very close to my heart. Everybody knows I worked on the first game. So we're going to talk about Fear 2, and we're going to compare it to Fear 1, give some overviews. Ryan, Brooks, you played it, Brooks?
Yeah, I played through the demo.
Okay. All right, you played the demo. Ryan, you played it. Anybody else played it?
I played some multiplayer.
Okay. All right. So
I played through the demo as well.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you want to kick this off?
So I enjoyed the first Fear demo a lot. It was a great slice, and they did the same thing with the Fear 2 demo, where they kind of take you on a little tour and showed you everything. When I actually purchased the first Fear, I was kind of let down with how repetitive it got, how everything kind of just looked the same, and the actual scary angles didn't really matter that much. But great concept, pretty cool game. Fear 2 starts pretty strong, but the first thing out of the bat is I felt like the AI. It was definitely built for the consoles first, and I felt like the AI was really dialed down. I remember in the first one just how they would respond to me. depending on like, if I was going for like melees or using the slowdown effects and stuff like this. This time they seem a little more like, normal target practice guys.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the thing that first jumped out at me because, the original AI, as you said, I mean, they'd try and flank you. They'd try
Very
and...
responsive.
Yeah, they'd basically try and flush you out with grenades. And these guys also try, lob grenades and stuff. But, I mean, they'd be so tuned on in the original game, if they saw your flashlight or heard a noise, they would come running. Now, I mean, you could be wandering along, flashlight going, you could have a boombox on your shoulder as far as I'm concerned, and these guys are just going, doo-doo-doo, let's wander around, we're replicants, but we're absolutely, in fact, just boom. So yeah, it does feel a little bit dumbed down, and I think I take your points on the original Fear. The first third and the final third of the original Fear was some of the best first-person shooter experiences out there. The middle third was dull and repetitive, same office space, same warehouse. I was hoping for actually a lot more in Fear 2 with regards to wide open spaces, more varied, and they do have, you go from the interior of an apartment complex to a hospital to so-and-so to an elementary school. To
the streets are pretty cool.
Yeah, the streets are pretty cool, but again, it's still very enclosed. It feels to me that they, Fear 1 was an unexpected success. It was almost like an indie film that came out and did really well. This is the big budget sequel where they've thrown all the money at the special effects, but have lost a little bit of the soul of the original. The storyline is actually, it does make sense if you're, really into,
pick up a little intel
Alma,
things.
Yeah, you pick up the intel things, but I mean the story as you progress makes a lot of sense. But it's just, it's more of the same with regards to moving from one area to, another, and all the areas kind of look the same.
Oh, and they added QuickTime events. And I was playing it on the PC, and it's like, rapidly click your right mouse button. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, and on the console, let's use your B button to melee when these big guys come at you. They've expanded the weapons. You only originally had 2 weapons and I think 2 grenades to choose from. Now you can carry up to 4.
New grenades are definitely cool.
Yeah, I mean the shock grenade, the incendiary grenades, proximity mines, which they had before.
No fear grenade.
No fear grenade. And then the weapons, they've got something called the hammerhead, which has replaced the railgun, which was my favorite because there's nothing like doing a headshot on a railgun and watching the Havoc physics make the body twitch as it was pinned by a railroad spike through the brain. They've got a big-ass rocket launcher. They've got an incendiary device. They've got the combat shotgun, automatic shotgun.
I would also say the scares aren't as good. And I mean the cheap scares. I love the cheap scares. Everyone's always like, oh, that's not fair when a monster jumps out of a window. And that's totally fair. But like I remember in the Fear 1 demo where you turn around and climb down the stairs, which is kind of this weird half canned animation, half like you're still in control. And as you turn around, there's Alma standing at you, like right at the top of the stairwell. That kind of stuff
disappears into cinders. I remember that bit very well.
That was really cool. Here, there's a couple times where they kind of like jump on the screen and stuff, but nothing is like well played out. Where it kind of mixes it between like a real kind of you're going to go down this ladder, but you're still like in game time, not in cinema time.
They also seem to advertise the scares a lot more. I mean, you can tell now that whereas before there'd be perhaps occasionally a little flicker of light and a scare would happen. But now, I mean, that your HUD's going to mess up a little, the lights are going to flicker, oh, right, here comes a scary bit, which is kind of sucky because it moves some of the shock value. I mean, Fear took a lot of influence from, movies like The Ring and The Grudge, with this creepy little girl, and you still got the creepy little girl, but it's like, I don't know, it's like when you see the bad guy. Once you've seen the bad guy once, and seen him up close, it doesn't have the same impact anymore.
Yeah, it has a big bag of tricks, but it reuses those tricks. Like the first time you see guys knocking over couches for cover and stuff, it's pretty cool, and you're like, oh, even the scenery looks really good, but despite how big the game is, they repeat a lot of set pieces.
They do.
A lot, and a lot of the animations and stuff, and I don't know, it's still a good shooter. I mean, going into slow-mo mode and pegging some dude in the head's pretty fun.
Yeah, it still is a pretty damn good shooter. I don't think it's as good or as fresh as the original was. Like I said, I think everything's dialed up with regards to graphics and some. The weapons actually still don't feel as good as they did in the original. Now, I played all 3 versions. I played the PS3 and the 360 and the PC. I've got to say the PC version, far and away the best. Playing with a mouse, playing with a keyboard, kicks the console's asses up and down the streets. Console fanboys, you don't like that, suck my left nut.
But that's the one thing I'm kind of curious about is I was playing it on the PC as well, and it felt, like I said, the AI didn't feel so good, and it felt a little easy. And I was playing on normal, which isn't hard, but also isn't easy. I was curious, it was made for the consoles first, does it feel a little harder
No, it
on
doesn't.
the consoles?
It doesn't actually.
Analog sticks?
It feels, the aiming is very forgiving. The AI is you know.
So it's about the same difficulty level.
A lot. Yeah, you just get better feel on the PC. And one of the things I did notice on the 360 version in particular, which I didn't get on the PC, was I was getting caught up on things a lot. I was getting caught up on door frames. I was getting caught up on some stairs, and it was just very annoying. And you know, it felt like it needed another, I don't know, 3 to 4 months just to not polish all the big things. But just make those little bits better and amp up. And you know, they took away my favorite weapon. The sawn-off shotgun's gone, which really pissed me off because slow-mo combat, and you know the fact that you know melee used to be, you know, punch, kick, sweep.
It's all in the mind.
Yeah, and now it's just, you know, punch or hit somebody with a barrel.
There's a sweep still.
You can slide, but
you can still do a jump kick, but it's just one kick instead of like.
Wow. Yeah, but it just doesn't have the same. It doesn't have that same cinematic feel. I mean, it was like being in, you know, a Jackie Chan movie at some point. You know, sometimes you're just getting that visceral feel.
Didn't you really need the slow mo in the first one to like not die? And in the second one, you can kind of just like.
Second one, you feel like you're cheating.
Butter. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this time you could complete it probably without touching slow mo once.
Yeah.
Don't they actually call it slow-mo too, like in game? They're like, soldier, activate your slow-mo to...
Your reflex inhibitor drugs.
Yeah, and that's the thing. In the first one, it wasn't called slow-mo. It was called heightened reflexes.
Even if it's silly, you got to make up a name for it. You got to justify it.
You know, we made up.
Turn on your max pain ability.
All right, so Fear 2 is, you know, if you liked Fear, you'll probably enjoy this. Perhaps not as much. I mean, certain things are better, certain things are bigger. And unfortunately, certain things are not as good. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Probably took one to the aorta. The aorta? You think it was the carotid or the subclavian artery?
Dude, making fun of a man for his knowledge is a sign of insecurity.
All right, that wraps up another controversial show. It's full frontal with regards to its testicularness. Thank you very much to everybody who's tuned in. Don't forget, Game Trailers TV is on later on tonight. The Metal Gear iPhone game, Infamous, and lots of other good stuff. Find us on Facebook. Send us some friend requests. Don't forget, you can always send your questions to invisiblewalls@gametrailers.com as well. And On the Hook will be back next week. So thanks to the panel. Thanks to you guys for listening in. Invisible Walls is out.